Welcome to Shankar's Daily News Analysis. Today's topic of discussion is these two editorials. In this first editorial, we'll discuss about various terms related to the population, and we will also see what are the implications because of the disparities in the population control between the northern and the southern states. And in the second editorial, we will discuss about the cash transfer schemes and why it is recently gaining popularity, what are the advantages and challenges, and how we can deal with this situation. So without further delay, let's get into today's discussion. So this editorial, don't panic on the population. This is what we are going to discuss. So we know that India is the most populous nation in the world, and the article mainly discusses about the idea of Mohan Bhagwat. He says that Indian families need to consider having 2 or 3 or even more children to deal with the falling fertility rate in current situation. But the author is criticizing this and it can be problematic, and we have to deal the situation in a better way to deal with the falling fertility rates. So firstly, we need to understand the term fertility rate to understand this concept, and the article deals with two main questions. Can the falling fertility rates can cause the labor depletion or the labor shortage in India, and how this question can be dealt? And another problem is that whether the population control measures has caused the disparity between the southern and the northern states, where the population controls has been differently implemented or differently followed by both the northern and the southern states, and what disparities it has created. So these are the two main questions raised, and we will try to answer these both questions with the proper strategies. So to understand this article wholly, we have to first decode the terms which are mentioned in this editorial with respect to the population. So let's begin with understanding about the term fertility rate. It is nothing but the number of child born to a woman in a particular population in a specific period. So let's try to understand this term with the help of example. Let's say there are 10,000 people in a place, and in a given year, let's say 1 year, there are about 1,200 babies born. So the fertility rate would be 1,200 by 10,000 into 100. So the answer would be 120. So there will be 120 babies per 1,000 women in a particular year. Fertility rate is nothing but the number of child born to a woman in a specific period, usually 1 year. This is called as the fertility rate, and this is what mentioned by the author in this editorial. This you have to understand this term. And if a country is having, or a particular place is having a high fertility rate, then there will be a increase in the population, and if they are having a low fertility rate, there will be a decline in the population. These are the concepts that we have to understand. Secondly, we have the total fertility rate, nothing but the prediction of number of child that will be born to women during her lifetime. This is called as the total fertility rate. So let's take another example to understand this as well. For example, if we have 20 to 24 age group of women have an average of 1 baby in their lifetime, and the women of age group 20 to 29 have a babies of an average of about 0.8. So the average number of babies will be calculated for each group, and there will be 2, that is 2 babies will be averagely born to women during her lifetime. This is called as the total fertility rate. So clearly understand the difference between the fertility and the total fertility rate. And thirdly, we have a term called as the replacement rate. It is the number of child a woman need to have to replace herself and her partner. This is called as the replacement rate, and usually the value of replacement rate is about 2.1. If you have a question, what is this 0.1? It is the quantity to deal with the negative effects such as the child mortality or the infertility. If there is any negative condition that can reduce the chances of child reaching the adolescence, to deal with that negative option, they are considered this 0.1. So a replacement rate of about 2.1 is required for the population increase. And if a population is having 2 as their replacement rate, the population will be stable in nature. And if they are having a replacement rate which is less than 2.1, the population will decline. This is called as the replacement rate. And the other term which we are going to discuss now is the dependency rate. It is nothing but the ratio of non-working population to the working population into 100. So, non-working population usually comes under the two categories. One is young population, another is old population. So, the working age groups comes under the category of 15 to 64. So, those who are less than 15, they are called as the young dependent rate, and who are more than 64, it is the old dependency rate. This is called as the dependency rate. And what is called as the dividend, that is the demographic dividend. So, based on the dependency ratio, we will derive that. So, it is the economic potential that rises because there is more working population than the non-working population. This is called as the demographic dividend. So, I hope you got a clear picture of all these 5 terms. We will use these 5 terms to understand the subsequent data which are mentioned in this editorial. Firstly, we have understood this term. So, we have also mentioned about the 2.1 replacement level which is required to the increase in population. So, previously we had a replacement rate of 3.4 and now it has declined to 2. So, we have a stable population. That is why Mohan Bhagwat is considering the Indian families to have more children to deal with this decline in the total fertility rate. Also, there is a regional disparity between both the northern states and southern states because population control measures were initiated in the 2000s vigorously, and even before that in 1970s forced sterilization was introduced in India, and even before that India was the first country to initiate nationwide family planning measures. So, having all this historical background, in 2000 population control measures were introduced and the southern states followed it very strictly, but the northern state slightly failed to do so. So, there were many regional disparities between both the northern and the southern states. So, these states Kerala, Karnataka, Tamil Nadu had a better opportunity because they strictly maintained the population control and they were able to allocate a better resource and development. On the other hand, these two states like Bihar and UP had a very high population density and high population which led to the unemployment between them and less economic development. So, we will discuss about these in the subsequent slides detailedly, and now we will discuss few important facts. So, here they have mentioned the 5 most populous states and the 5 least populous states. So, the population density is high in case of Bihar and it is lowest in Arunachal Pradesh. So, these are some few facts you can understand, and there is a high population density in urban areas and this can cause a stress on the infrastructure and it can also cause the urban sprawl. So, I said right, in the southern state they strictly and followed the population control measures. Let's see what are the implications because of following the population control measures strictly. So, firstly let's discuss the positive aspects. So, because of the better population control, they were able to allocate the resources among the population in a better way. So, they had a better infrastructure, better health, education, all the social welfare programs which were implemented equally among the southern states rather by comparing with the northern states. So, they were able to have a better quality of life, and because of having a better resource allocation, they will able to carry out a sustainable development. And to have a population control, this can be definitely done with the help of educating the women and by empowering the women. So, by providing the education that is required for the birth control, the women were empowered because of this and they had an opportunity to work, and eventually the participation rate of women in the work has increased a lot. So, as they were less population density compared to the north, they even had more employment opportunities in the southern states. So, these are the advantages and the positive implications because of following the population control measures strictly. And what are the negatives because of following the population control measures? Firstly, it can be political representation. You know, the reservation or the representation in the parliament is based on the population, because the delimitation commission draws the constituency lines based on the population, and the allocation of seats is also based on the population. So they had a lesser representation in the parliament. So this was one concern regarding reduction of population because of the population control measures. And secondly, the fund allocation by the finance commission is based on the population. So this was also having a negative impact because of reduced population. And another factor is that the aging population, because of the reduced fertility rate, there is a aging population. Because of reduced population, there can also be labor shortage, and this is the problem which is mentioned in this editorial. So they have also suggested few measures which can be followed to deal with the situation. So firstly, to deal with the labor shortage because of the reduced fertility rate, they have advocated for the skill development. So by developing these skills, we can improve the efficiency of the work. And secondly, they are advocating for a better mobility. So by improving the efficiency of transport, we can transport the population from higher density population to a location where the labors are needed. And thirdly, we can also provide a decent living conditions to the decent working conditions to the aged populations. So by having a decent work to the aged population, we can also do that to deal with the labor shortage in the low population density regions. And talking about the region which is having high population and high population density, the advantage is that they are having a large working population, but other disadvantages include there is a depletion of resources which is causing a poor living conditions, and it is also causing a stress on the welfare such as health, education. Because of high population density, there is less access to all these welfare schemes. So I hope you got a clear picture of this editorial in a multi-dimensional way. So firstly, we discussed about the terms and what are the implications because of the disparities in the population control measures in the southern and the northern states. So let's see a question now. The greatest resource of any nation is its people. However, without effective management, population growth can become a liability rather than an asset. Critically analyze. So you can write the answer for this question and post it in the comment section. We will definitely review for you cash transfer schemes for women as a new poll plank. This is the next editorial which we are going to discuss. So the crux of this editorial is that recently many political parties at the state level and the central level are using this cash transfer schemes as a main thing in their political campaign. What can be the political implications and various multidimensional implications because of implementing these kind of cash transfer schemes, and especially for the women? What are the challenges in doing this and why it is recently gaining much popularity? We will discuss all about that. So to start with, let's try to understand what are these cash transfer schemes. So it is nothing but a financial aid is directly given from the government to the particular individual. So here the key word is directly, without any middleman at the intermediary level. The government directly pays the financial aid to the individual. So there are no middlemen and they are eliminated in this process. So there is a higher efficiency and transparency in the amount given to the individuals. And to understand, there is also two types of cash transfer. One is the conditional, another one being unconditional. Conditional cash transfer is nothing but a financial aid is given to the individual only if they satisfy certain condition. For example, if we take Matru Yojana, when a woman is pregnant, only then the financial aid is provided to that particular woman. So they has to satisfy certain specific condition. This is called as the conditional cash transfer, and they aim to achieve a certain goal, for example, to achieve in the health, education, and they have a specific goal. But that is not in case of the unconditional. So here the financial aid is provided to the beneficiaries without following any specific condition, and they have a general goal and not a specific goal. This is the difference between conditional and unconditional cash transfer mechanism in India. So they have cited many examples in this editorial. So let's take a quick glimpse of that. The first scheme is Pradhan Mantri Matru Vandana Yojana. So this scheme comes under the Ministry of Women and Child Development. So it is a centrally sponsored scheme and not a central sector scheme. So the main objective of this scheme is to provide a financial support to improve the health of mother and the child. So in this scheme, 5,000 maternity benefit is given to the mother in 3 separate installment, and additional incentives are also provided in other schemes such as the Janani Suraksha Yojana. Similarly, we have another scheme, that is the Indira Gandhi Matritva Sahyog Yojana, and this is a conditional cash transfer scheme where the government will provide financial incentives to improve the health as well as the nutrition of the pregnant as well as the lactating women. So this scheme also comes under the Ministry of Women and Child Development. We have also other schemes that are women-centric. For example, we have the Priyadarsini scheme, which aims to set up a self-help group for the empowerment of women, and we also have National Mission for the Women Empowerment. The main objective of this mission is to empower the women by providing health, education, and to eliminate the gender disparities and to improve them economically and socially. This is the main objective of this mission. And lastly, we have another scheme called as the Swadhar Grace scheme, where they provide a safe shelter for women in case of distress. So these are few schemes where the schemes are totally women-centric, that is focused on women. We also saw the types of cash transfers. So why it is recently gaining popularity? Let's discuss that. So the number of women voting has increased rapidly. In case of 1962, the voters turnout was only 47%, but recently the voter turnout has increased up to 66%, and they contribute a large amount of the voters. So the political parties' agendas are mainly focusing on the women. That is why these cash transfer schemes for the women particularly are gaining popularity. And second is that there is a reduction of middlemen and there is no scope of corruption because of that. So these kind of cash transfer schemes are gaining popularity because they are able to connect, the political parties leaders are able to connect to the citizens very efficiently. They have also used a term in this editorial. So techno patrimonial, which is nothing but by having a direct contact between the political leader and the individual, because they are able to get the money in an efficient and transparent way, they are able to get a benefit out that. Because of that, they are having a increased loyalty to the political leader. This is called as the techno patrimonial by this author in this editorial. So this is also another reason why it is gaining popularity. Another reason is that if you are carrying out any infrastructure projects such as health, education, or any long-term projects with the welfare of people, it is going to take long time and the results are also going to be late. But it is going to be a better outcome. Even then, the disadvantage is that it will be delayed and late. So comparing with that kind of better infrastructure, even though this is going to give them an immediate and a quick relief, but only for a shorter period, people are seeing the benefit in a quick way. So people are preferring this, even though these better infrastructure projects are giving them a better benefits, as they are having a quick result in these kind of cash transfer schemes. These kind of schemes are gaining popularity. And lastly, there is a similar strategies and similar cash transfer schemes in various states at the same time. So many political parties are having a tendency to follow what other states are following, and there is a lack of finding innovative solutions than adopting the policies which are followed by others. So this is what mentioned by the editor. This is what mentioned by the author in this editorial. See, because of these following reasons, these cash transfer schemes are gaining popularity. So what can be the advantages of this? So first is the women empowerment, because as they're getting the amount in their account, that is, we are going to use JAM, which is the JAM Trinity. So J stands for the Jandan Yojana. So each individual will have a separate bank account in their name, and A stands for the Aadhaar, and M stands for the mobile number. So all these three will be connected, and as they get the amount, they will be notified in their mobile. So all these three are connected, and they will have a financial independence because of that. And as I already said, they will give a immediate relief as they are able to purchase whatever they want at the moment. As there are a cut down of middlemen, it is also efficient for the administrative officers in providing the benefits which are provided by this scheme. So these are the main advantages of this cash transfer scheme. Even though it has some advantages, there are some limitations as well, because there is a over reliance on the technology. As already said, we have the JAM Trinity. So those who are having a less knowledge on the technology, they may face challenges, and as people are getting the amount in their hand, they tend to go for the private solution, that is a private hospital, private schools, and there is a shift from the public to the private solution, and this can lead to the marginalization of the public services, as people tend to afford the private solutions which was previously afforded only by the rich people. People are preferring these kind of short term relief because these cash transfer schemes are providing an immediate relief, but they, rather than supporting these kind of long term solution, that such as the better infrastructure projects which can give them a better and a long term welfare. So these are the challenges because of the cash transfer schemes. So how we can deal with the situation? First, we can strengthen the public system, so that if there are better public solutions available to the individuals and citizens, they will go to the public system than going to the private system. This is one. And secondly, we have a diversified welfare strategies. Instead of focusing only on the cash transfer scheme, we can diversify the benefits by implementing and innovating new solution. This is the another solution we can consider. Thirdly, we have to balance between the short term as well as long term goals. Cash transfer schemes are good, but we also have to improve the innovative solutions to have a balanced approach between both of them. So these are the things which were detailedly discussed in this editorial. I hope you got a clear picture. Now let's see a question. So this is the question given for you. You can write this question and post it in the comment section. We will review it for you. We have come to end of today's video. If you found the video informative, do hit like, give your feedbacks as comment, and do not forget to subscribe. Thank you. Have a nice day.